composer Tyagaraja himself. Her great-great-grandfather, Lal Gudi Ramayya, was a direct disciple of Tyagaraja. She feels privileged to carry the torch of the Lal Gudi School of Music, a school that embodies perfection, purity, and melody. She's a versatile teacher with great acumen on vocal, instrumental, and rhythmic aspects of Carnatic music. In 1989, Srimati Anuradhaji launched Trinity Center for Music in the San Francisco Bay Area. And her mission is a school to groom stellar students of music and to serve and propagate the aesthetics of Carnatic music in the United States. So let me welcome Srimati Anuradhaji. So can you speak about the rag and introduce us to the rag?
Good evening, friends. I'm really happy to be here, and it's a very unique opportunity for me to speak about a rag. As it was mentioned before, the rag for the day is Shiv Ranjani. When I looked up older textbooks about the origin of the rag, it was pretty interesting because the scales given for the raga or rag in Carnatic music were very different from the way Shivaranjani is sung today. Today, Shivaranjani is sung the same way in both South Indian and North Indian music systems. Ranjani refers to something that's pleasing, colorful, delightful, peaceful, charming, and Shivaranjani is a dedication of all this to Lord Shiva. A rag in Indian classical music is usually much more than just a combination of notes. It's much more than just an ascending or descending scale. Although the notes are very important in deciding how the rag is rendered, rags are personified as devatas or deities, which have personalities just like human beings. The personality that we have comes from our forefathers, our parents. Similarly, rags are born from parent ragas. In the South Indian classical music, we have the 72 Melakarta ragas, which are the parent ragas, from which innumerable thousands and thousands of Janya ragas or child ragas are created. The parent raga for Shivaranjani is the 22nd raga in the scale of 72, which is known as Karahara Priya. Very similar to the North Indian Kafi tar. And the Janya ragas are usually subsets of the parent raga. So they take some of the notes of the parent raga. I will sing a little the scales of Karahara Priya for you. And then I will sing the scale of Shivaranjani. And you will see that Shivaranjani is a smaller group of notes, but pretty similar notes from Karahara Priya. This is Karahara Priya. Shivaranjani, just the plain notes, that's just a scale. Sa ri ga pa da sa da pa ga ri sa. So you can see that the Madhyamam and the Nishadam were not there in Shivaranjani. So ragas are born from parent ragas, but that alone doesn't define a raga. Like I said, the characteristics, the personality of the raga comes from not only the notes, but how the notes are rendered. very importantly, the gamakas, the nuances, the ornamentations define the mood, the color, the emotion a raga creates. And that's what brings the personality out. You'll be amazed to see how ragas with similar notes but with different gamakas produce different emotions in people. In Shivaranjani, the way it is sung today, the scale I just rendered, is most of the notes are sung pretty plain compared to the ornamentation that isn't there in South Indian music, but they do have certain characteristic slides and movements that create the mood. For instance, if we render a scale, sa ri ga pa da sa da pa ga ri sa, not much of an emotion is created. Sa ri ga pa da sa da pa ga ri sa da ga ri. When you do those slides, then a mood is created. Shivaranjani creates a very melancholic mood, sad mood. It's also a very romantic mood, and that's why probably the film producers have exploited it a lot. Honestly, I didn't quite find too many kritis, heavy compositions by the trinity of Carnatic music in Shivaranjani. Maybe the devotion to God is expressed a little differently from the romance that we find in the films. Right? That could be a reason. This is just my interpretation. And in addition to the gamakas, there are also certain notes that are very important in a raga. The Vadi and Samvadi notes. The Vadi notes are the most important note of a raga. Without that, the raga cannot be rendered. Pa pa ga pa sa ga pa ga re ga re sa. Pa is the most important note in this raga. The next most important note, which is usually the fifth of that note, is sa. That's very important in Shivaranjani. Now, back to the point where I said the ornamentation of the note changes the mood of the raga. Shivaranjani we saw is very romantic and has a sad feel to it. I heard Jayashree say that Bhupali was another raga that was just addressed a few meetings ago. It's the same as Mohanam in Carnatic music. It's just one note different from Shivaranjani. The Gandhara, sa ri ga pa, is actually sa ri ga pa da sa da pa ga re sa. But when you look at the second half of the scale, pa da sa da pa, it's pretty common between the two ragas. But the way this portion of the ragas are rendered are very different. Mohanam, as the name suggests, is joy. It brings exuberance, happiness. Whereas Shivaranjani brings sorrow, sadness. Not more sorrow, sadness. So, pa da sa da pa ga re sa, pa da pa da da pa da. That's how Mohanam is sung. Same padapa, padasa is sung very differently. Same notes, but the way they are shook bring different emotions in you. I took the liberty of including Mishra Shivaranjani in today's presentation because Mishra Shivaranjani brings the same mood and the feeling that Shivaranjani brings. but with just a few notes, additional notes that are added to it, it brings a little bit of joy and peace to the sorrow that Shivaranjani represents. And overall, in Carnatic music, we sort of use the two terms mixedly. Somebody might sing a Mishra Shivaranjani song and may say, that's in Shivaranjani. So I took the liberty of bringing that raga also out today, because I don't think it stands by itself and it's just an offshoot of Shivaranjani. Mishra is usually mixing something. So the composer of Mishra Shivaranjani has beautifully added one or two notes that are not in the parent raga and made Shivaranjani, Mishra Shivaranjani. And that creates very different emotions. Now, how did the moods change? And did most of you have goosebumps? I mean, I do have it every time I sing this. But that's the personality, that's the life that the raga brings. It's much more than just the notes. I think I'm going to keep myself short a little bit here. The presentation today includes Shruti and Jayashri will sing Alap of Shivaranjani, followed by Parthiv playing a short Alap on the violin.